Well, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Marketplace Mavericks. Well, it's not really Mavericks anymore. It's just Maverick. You are left with just me. Pete decided kind of the same situation as Blake. He had other stuff to do, and he's still doing Amazon a little bit on the side, but for the most part, both of them are not doing it anymore. And you're left with just me. So we're going to kind of switch things up a little bit as we go on in weeks. And I'm going to take you on my journey of being in brand direct, wholesale. And now that I'm in that, we're going to see how I do. I'm probably, as I've, talked about before, about 7-8 months fully into brand wholesale. And I want to bring guys that are in the industry that want to talk about, what they've been doing and how they became successful in this business. And, I'm on my way to hopefully be successful, and I can help people out that are just starting brand direct. And that's really where I want to focus this podcast on is, just like I was doing before and I was doing with Blake and with Pete on our OA experience. And now we're going to do it in brand direct and not really mess around at all with OA because there's nothing I can talk about. I don't know anything about it anymore. So, but brand direct, I'm going to try to help you out with the issues that I had and mistakes that I made that I'm sure I'm not done making mistakes and how we can try to avoid those. And, some things, if you're listening to coaches, and there's some great online coaches, I am where I am today because of paying for coaching. So I'm a big advocate of that. But a lot of coaches, they don't tell you how much you need, or I think a lot of people want to make the switch from their day job, their 9 to 5, but I'm not sure they really understand what that means either in OA or in brand direct and wholesale. In order to pay yourself, you probably need to be making okay to pay yourself some sort of livable wage. And there's no way of making that 100K a month without investing a minimum of 60, probably closer to 70. There is no magic sauce. You're going to eventually need to take investment out of your own pocket. And it's going to be a lot, just like in any other business. And it doesn't mean it needs to come out of your pocket. That's why I'm doing credit lines and use other people's money while still using credit cards and never paying interest on those. There's lots of different ways. Like, we had Paulo on here talking about how, he gets lines of credit for people and how you can really maximize credit card use. All of that is super important. But when it comes down to it, it's going to take money and you need to have a plan. What I would also say is don't start with too much that's what I did. I had access to money where $4,000 to $5,000 order was not a big deal. However, that also made me stretch and over purchase and buy things that I shouldn't and not be patient. So I got to say the number one first thing in wholesale is be patient. I would say if I could go back, I made a ton of phone calls in the beginning. I don't think I made a purchase in my first 40 days that I ever replanned. I want to say maybe my first 2 months. I don't think I ever replanned because it either price tanked, I did not do the math on velocity. I was just so happy that I was able to break through and get a brand to sell to me that was profitable. However, it wasn't worth what I did, or I ordered too much, or a list of things that I kind of knew when I was doing it, I was taking a chance, but I thought, hey, you have to take chances. No, you do have to take chances. They need to be calculated. It's simple math when you're buying something. If an item is $25 and it's selling $50 a month and there's 5 people on the listing, chances are that's not a product that's worth it. Now, if that product is $350, is it worth maybe 10 sales a month? Sure, it's worth it then. But you really do just have to use common sense and math when you're doing this in the beginning. But patience is your best friend. You will still find ways to make mistakes in other ways, and shipping, and prepping. There will be some other way you can make a mistake. Try not to do it on what you are purchasing. So yeah, getting that being said with brand direct, that's mostly what you're going to hear me talk about is brand direct. I am It is what I have really, really leaned into. I find it fun. I find it fun. I like talking to brands. I like getting on the phone, creating a relationship. When some of these office managers, when their birthdays are. I know that one of them, for one of the brands that is probably my top brand right now, I know that she goes on vacation on a cruise on the 20th. I'm going to make sure I get the purchase order, pay last month's purchase order, and have a talk with her and see if she's excited to go on her cruise. Because I'm also trying to get the owner on the phone, who's really difficult to get on the phone. He's kind of a hands-off guy, but I want an exclusive with this brand. I want to improve their listings. That are the things that I enjoy about this, is actually getting to know people. And it's a little past the internet, even though most of these people you may never meet. But if that's not your thing, don't go into wholesale, because using distributors is going to be the same thing. You buy once from them, they don't talk to you much. You start spending much more money, they start telling you what deals are. I mean, it is just as important to become buddies with your distributor as it is with a brand. Maybe more important with a distributor. That's even something that I haven't been able to find. I have not put a distributor order in that I've done a replen with. That's just how I've been. Some of it has to do with luck, I would say so. Even though I am brand direct, anytime a brand won't sell to me, but they refer me to a distributor, I'm always going to call that distributor, because if it's profitable and it's moving and it makes sense and the math works, I want to buy it, even if it's not brand direct. But I haven't had one that has worked out. I think a big part of it is, when you're using a distributor, you're cutting that pie one more time. And that's a lot of cutting with the pie before Amazon even takes theirs. So that's a couple of things that really starting with brand direct. And I'm talking your first 60 days. A lot with OA, it's like, hey, your first week, your first 3 weeks, work on this. So brand direct and wholesale, it's different. It is not going to be the instant gratification. In fact, I would say I'm 7 months in. I am just now starting to get follow-ups that are starting to talk to me again. That's where all the money is made, is follow-ups. Everything is follow-ups. That person that says, call me back in 3 months, in your CRM or however you want to take notes, you should have extensive notes, what the person's name is, what you talked about, something to remember them by, something they'll remember you by. I'm almost typing as I'm talking to these brands into my CRM. So I am constantly trying to, because I realized that, hey, you call 30 brands, you kind of remember them. Once you've called 900, when it comes that call number 345 you're supposed to follow up with, and all you have in your notes is call Nancy back, you are going to have no idea who Nancy is and what you talked about. I will write things in there, Nancy, from Georgia, has a granddaughter. We talked about this. I will do something that I can tell that will jar my memory to remember what we talked about, and for me to bring up a topic with them that shows that I remember what we talked about 3 months ago, 4 months ago. So, and all of that's my past sales experience. That is something that's how I knew that I was meant for more of this more wholesale and the brand direct sort of avenue with Amazon, because I'm comfortable talking to people like this. I get it. I owned my own business. I had business relationships. And even though you are selling yourself in the beginning, you are trying to show value to purchase their product. But there is definitely a change in most brands, or at least good ones, is once you start buying and buying more and more and more, you start to create a business relationship, because the money does make a big difference. If you put a $4,000 order in, and 4 months later, that order is now $55,000. They're answering the phone a lot quicker. They're helping you out. The tables really turn. And when you do talk to the owner and you work towards an exclusive, you've already spent 6 figures with it. You're spending a lot of money with this brand. It is a completely different conversation than when you were trying to just get the account and allow him to purchase from you, put it in a test order. So, and I am just now getting to that with one of my brands that I started working with early. It's just taken off really quickly. So that is a lot of the beginning. I'm somewhere around K per month right now that is fully wholesale. But if I lost one of my brands, I don't have enough backup. My my gross would be more than cut in half. So, it's about layering account after account after account. And that's really what I'm working towards now, is I'm being picky on where I'm purchasing from, but not missing an opportunity. I make sure no matter what, I put a test order in, and then I work from there and let it prove itself, because my best account that I've done so well with, I just did it the right way. First order, every order just kept on doubling itself. And every single time it worked. So that's, I would say that's for you guys. That's like the beginning. And I know it's tough, but it's a lot of phone calls. It is a ton of phone calls. You make lists, use Smart Scout, use Keepa, however you want to source, but it's going to take a lot of phone calls. And you're not going to get I've never gotten hung up on or sworn at or anything like that. Because you are calling up to purchase their product. The ones that don't work are the ones that just, they're just not really interested in you buying it. But we can go into calls. Maybe sometime you guys can listen to a call that I've had with a brand. But for the most part, don't think I am going to sit here once a week and just babble into this microphone. For the most part, I am going to bring on some really great guests within the Amazon world. We are talking OA guys, mostly brand direct guys that are really proven. AI is a huge thing. So we're going to try to get some people to talk about AI. So I got a lot of good things coming, and I am still doing it. So you have one last standing Maverick, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm making money. And let me tell you, after a year of trying to figure this out, if you put in the time, like, this will work. Like, I have done it long enough now, and I am doing enough money where I can see the model and I can see where it works, and I can see in general just what I can't do. So there's going to be more to come. But thanks, guys. Thanks for sticking around. I am going to be back next week or the week after. I don't know. I don't think I have a certain day that I'm going to come out with these. But I'm going to try to get some new guys on here, and we're going to go from there. So until next time, this is Marketplace Mavericks, and we will be back next week.